All right, Steve, we're back again for another episode of the Steel Target Paint Podcast. How you been?
Doing great, Jeff. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. You know, this is the first Monday after the Level 2 at the WAC, the West Florida Steel Challenge Championships. You were down here, and, I'll be honest with you, it went off great, but it's nice to relax and sit back and maybe just do a podcast and not have to worry about a match or shooting.
Jeff, have you dried out yet?
It did get wet, that is for sure.
Did you plan that just for me?
Oh, absolutely. I had some people telling me that I did it because we didn't have any rain on Friday, and I responded with, if I had that power, I would do it all the time.
It was a great match, Jeff.
Well, thank you. Well, Steve, we start these things off every week with a tip. So have you got one to share with our listeners this month?
Yeah, Jeff, I'll kind of piggyback on my match experience this past weekend. For those of you that have never been to the Wyoming Antelope Club down in Clearwater, Florida, it is just a different outdoor range, if you will. Each of the bays are covered. It's concrete walls and a concrete ceiling. It's kind of a little bit darker in the back, but the acoustics were very, very, very different. And after I shot my first stage, I thought to myself, I can't hear as well as I usually do, and I can't see the targets as well as I usually do. And so for me, what I said to myself is, you know what, Steve, call your shots like you normally will, or you normally do. See the target, see the dot, or see the front sight, and pull the trigger. And once I psyched myself up a little bit, I psyched myself out a little bit, and I came back in and finished strong. But it was definitely a different shooting experience, and other people that have never shot there before had a similar type of experience in comments. And I think why I did well was I was able to get myself back in the zone and say, you know what, everybody's shooting the same exact conditions, and it's new for 90% of the people that are shooting there. So sometimes it's more about the mental side of the game than it is the physical side of the game.
Well, Steve, that's a really good point. We've joked in the past together about, the home field advantage at the Wyoming Antelope Club. There clearly is that because it's something I'm used to. But again, champions rise to the occasion, deal with the situation. And, for those that don't know, Steve pulled off a number of awards, including both Steelmaster and Rifle Master. So congratulations, Steve. That's awesome.
Thanks, Jeff. I was honored.
Well, people, one of the things we like to do is have special guests on this podcast, and we've got another great one. Today, we have the president of Hunters HD Gold, Brian Conley. Brian, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Okay, Brian, so a lot of us both Steve and I wear multiple different versions of Hunters HD Gold, and everyone that shoots major matches will see you there, not only in Steel Challenge, but Rimfire Challenge, USPSA coming up at the 9 Days of Nationals. So, Brian, how did Hunters HD Gold get started?
Hunters HD Gold really didn't get started till around October of 2015 unofficially, but back in 2014, I was talking to Sherry, who owns the company I work for, about needing to make a lens where I wanted to use something personal when I went hunting and shooting myself. Through doing that, I put a lot of technologies together and other things, and, that's what kind of, just got a lens started for myself. But then I got, I was working out at the cabin. I have a cabin on the side where we do some executive hunts and stuff like that, and I was having a lake built, and around June 24th, 2015, my guy who was building the lake handed me this spray and said, hey, I need this, some more of this spray. It looks like it's in Pelham, Alabama. It looked on the back of the can. And I said, well, cool. Let me give it to me. I'll go pick it up for you. So I'm, coming back town. The cabin's about 2 hours away from my house, and I was coming back the next couple of days. And I was back in Pelham and looked on the back of this can, and it said Rainbow Technologies in Pelham, Alabama. So I went up to, went to find this place, looked on the internet and found it, and went up to the building. And basically had to be buzzed in at the front door. I could tell, I was like, well, this doesn't look like it's open to the public. So I went in the front door and started talking. I said, hey, I want to buy the can of this wasp spray. I heard it's the best out there. I just want to pick some up for my guy who's building the lake at the cabin. And she, looked at me kind of funny, like, well, we don't really sell to the public. And then she said, hold on one second. And she went and got a guy named Vic, who I found out later is their marketing guy. And I talked to Vic, and he says, well, you can order this online through, Rainbow Technologies. They have a website and everything. And I thought, oh, okay, cool. And I left him my business card of Triple Forks Hunting, where I'm actually in charge of that, and left him a card and kind of went on my merry way to go buy some on the internet. Probably a couple of weeks later, I get a phone call from Larry Joe Steedley, and he said, hey, I heard you came by the office wanting to buy some wasp spray, but he left a card, and I see that you have hunting, at your place. And I was like, yeah, we do executive hunts for people, to come by and just, sleeps 4 people. So, it's one of those things, conversation just had with him about, him coming out and do a hunt, and sure enough, he booked a hunt with us, and that's how I met Larry. And then Larry came out to the cabin and saw some lenses I had there for people to use in demo. Just the frames were not the same at all as they are now. So he tried them and says, wow, these are pretty neat. So, we started becoming friends and started talking a little bit, and we went out to eat lunch, started talking a bit more, and he wanted to get me into, some shooting, some competitive shooting myself. And he was doing cowboy shooting, and so it's what he got me into. So I started doing some cowboy shooting and stuff like that, and actually got in an alias called Lightbender with a SAS. So that worked out pretty cool because that's what I do for a living, is bend light. I'm going through the process of buying guns. I got me a Navy Arms Winchester 357, 2 Ruger Vaqueros, a Stoger shotgun, and had all that stuff modified and stuff done through Larry with a bunch of people he know, and that's kind of how I got into competitive shooting, so just shooting through SAS. And then we started shooting together. We started started going through the lens together, and we started doing some testing together. And this is before he even started steel target paint. So we were all kind of doing the testing of the lens together, and also testing the paint and other things together before we even got started. Then around April of 2016 is when I actually came up with the name Hunter's HD Gold, because we designed it as a hunting lens to begin with, and then went from there to be for shooters. And then around December of that same year, December of 2016, that's when Larry introduced me to you, Steve, and that's when we kind of met for the first time and about competitive shooting, and had no idea what the lens was going to do. And I got you a pair that we had made, for you at that time to, test everything else. And that's kind of when you fell in love with the brand from there. Then after meeting with Steve, I think I went to Nationals for the first time around March or April of 2017 or something like that. And I think that's when I met Trent Mitsauka for the first time. Stevie wanted me to meet him, and I met Trent and talked to him about the Hunter's HD Gold, what I was doing and everything else. And then I noticed that he had some reflection on his lenses. I asked Trent, I said, do you have a problem with glare or anything? And Trent's like, well, I don't think I do. And I said, well, listen, let me get your prescription. Let me make you some lenses, and let me see how you like it. And then Trent loved it, and everything kind of went from there. And that's how how Hunter's HD Gold was born, just off a couple of testing and stuff like that. And from there, we just extended the brand to a lot of people and a lot of different shooting disciplines from there. So I guess that's how everything kind of got started.
So your relationship with RangeStore.net, Rainbow Technologies, Steel Target Paint, Larry Joe Steely was born from a can of wasp spray.
Yep. That a guy, yeah, exactly. That a guy just handed me on the when he was out in the middle of a field with a track hoe and handed me this spray and says, "Hey, go find it. I need some more." And I said, "Okay, cool. Yep, exactly."
Very cool. So what makes Hunter's HD Gold so different from all the other glasses that are out there that people are shooting in?
Well, there's a lot of great shooting glasses that are out there on the market. Ours is just different. First of all, ours is made of Trivex. Trivex is a material that is actually stronger than plastic or polycarbonate. Trivex actually allows 43% more light transmission to pass through the lens than polycarbonate alone. So that's one of the big things we did. Trivex was created by PPG Industries out of Pittsburgh. Designed when it first came out as visual armor. They actually used Trivex on the cockpit of fighter jets. So that's one of the big things we use. Next, we put in a photochromic where the lenses actually change from one color to another color based on UV. And then we added an AR coating, which takes away all the glare where you have no glare in shooting, and we added a scratch coat to that as well, so it make it not easy to scratch it all in the lens. And then we dyed it a certain color to be able to pick up more light in the morning. So for hunters, you actually get 30 minutes more hunting in the morning and 30 minutes more hunting in the evening. That's where the dye came from. And the dye is actually a medical dye that's used to treat depression up in northern parts of North America where they don't have that much sunlight, so they actually tricks the eyes to recreate daylight. So that's just some of the benefits that we put into the lens itself.
Wow, that is amazing.
I want to go back to when Brian and I first met at the 2016 Alabama State Steel Challenge match. I didn't know Brian at all. I talked to him on the phone briefly. He said, "Hey, do you wear shooting glasses?" And I said, "Well, of course I do." And at that point in time, I was wearing another competitor's eyewear, and I have a prescription. Getting up there a little bit in age, Jeff, so yeah, my eyesight started to decline a little bit, and so of course my prescription was a little bit out of date. So I went to it was a good excuse to go to the optometrist to get an updated prescription, and so I sent my prescription to Brian, and the very first pair of Hunter's HD Gold glasses I had were prescription. He actually sent me two variations. One was the Archer, which is a little bit slimmer model of the Aviators. It's kind of a wire and steel type frame looking frame, and then the Gauge. And so the Archer model is what I put on, and I just couldn't take them off. The first time I put on those glasses, Jeff, it was just the contrast and clarity. I can't even explain it to you, and I'm sure Brian will talk at some point about his strategy in going to matches, but it's like I was seeing stuff for the first time, and the quality of the prescription that I had was far better than the prescription glasses that I wear for work, because again, I spend a lot of time in front of a computer reading emails and that kind of thing. And I wrote a review about Hunter's HD Gold about that match. It was, at that time, up in my shooting career, it was the most successful match I ever had, and it really dropped my scores about 10%. I came in first place in rimfire pistol iron, rimfire rifle open, first place in PCC, and I took the title of Rifle Master at the Alabama State Steel Challenge match. And prior to that, yeah, I'd sneak up here and there and win first place in this or win first place in that. And certainly I came in second and third place quite a bit in some of those other divisions. But for me, it was the first time that I had that type of performance, and I thought I was pretty good just based on mechanics and so on and so forth, but it really was at that point in my shooting career that it just took it to a whole different level. And so that's my testament of how well the glasses perform, as well as specifically the prescription. It was, oh, there's a front sight on the end of that gun. But yeah, that was my first experience meeting Brian.
Well, I'm sure Brian hears it all the time. We heard it this weekend. A good friend of mine, Lee Nugent, bought a pair for himself and his daughter, Gianna. And I was talking to Lee, and he's like, I cannot believe how well I can see the targets. And, of course, this is at the Wyoming Antelope Club in our bays that are outdoor but covered. You know, I've been shooting there, and I'll tell you a story about the first time I came back with a pair of Hunter's HD Gold. Wasn't really sure how they were going to act because during, we'll start 6 o'clock at night. It's bright out, and we'll finish shooting at 8:30 or 8:45. It's dark. We're under LED lights. And the tagline that Hunter's HD Gold has is, they change so you don't have to, fit me to a T. Never had to take the glasses off. It was amazing. And so, Brian, I'm sure you hear that a lot. Is that a case?
Yeah, we do, and thank you so much, both of you, for those great comments and everything you do, because, each lens is made one at a time, and what happens here on a daily basis at work when I'm here is all we do is make eyeglasses for ophthalmologists and optometrists on a daily basis. We make about 250 to 300 jobs, so that's all we do. We're a wholesale lab that is not open to the public, so it's one of those things where each lens is, cut one at a time, like I said, but it's, we make the same lens the same way for non-prescription as we do as prescription. So I'm either cutting a prescription or I'm going to cut it with no prescription. So when each one of them is broke down to the 0.0001 millimeter, that's how much detail is put into each lens. It's neat to hear everybody's feedback because it just proves that, quality eyewear that you buy from your local independent optometrist or ophthalmologist is just so much better than the eyewear that you can buy from big box retailers.
Breaking news, everyone. We've got something special to put right in the middle of this podcast. Brian, it's your show. Go.
If you will post on the Steel Target Paint shooting page, the first one that posts Hunter's HD Gold Roll Tide will win a free Hunter's HD Gold Pelican cup.
Wow. I have seen those cups, and I know they keep your drinks cold all day, so that is fantastic. Thank you, Brian.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm excited to give another one away. We only made 20 of these. I'm not even keeping one myself, and I'm going to use all 20 of them for some kind of different contest throughout the year and going into next year.
Okay, Steve, you and I don't count. We can't do it.
Dang it. I was just going to post something out there. Jeff, you got me.
Steve, I was on rangestore.net. There is so much stuff on that. Is there anything out there that you'd like to point out to our listeners?
Absolutely, Jeff. Since we have Hunter's HD Gold on, I figured we would go through and spotlight the different lens cleaners. There's two different variants that are online. There's a little pump spray bottle, and then, of course, the lens cleaning towelette. Oh, those things are absolutely magic, and they work perfect on Hunter's HD Gold. And you know what, Jeff? We partnered up with Larry Steely and rangestore.net, and what they've decided to do is offer our listeners a 10% off coupon code. So use ST Podcast 10 for 10% off, and that is ST Podcast 10 for 10% off your order.
All right. Well, thank you, Larry, and rangestore.net for that offer to our listeners. Steve, have you had a chance to tour the lab?
I have not. It's on my to-do list for sure, but I have not made it over for that.
I was fortunate enough to go during the 2018 World Speed Shoot Championships, and my eyes were just, it was amazing. It was bugged out. Unbelievable what the processes they go through to create these lenses. It's quite impressive.
Brian, we had some downtime because of the rain and whatnot this past weekend, and I saw you pull out this hockey puck looking clear piece of plastic or Trivex or what was that? It looked like a hockey puck, but just clear.
That's exactly what it was. Based on the statement, it's not a hockey puck, but I said lens is the size of a hockey puck, and it's a piece of Trivex. And I brought that out to show everybody, this is how the lens process starts. They all start off the exact same, just like I said. 17 people actually will touch each lens before it goes into the frame, and Jeff got to meet a lot of those people. But my wife's mother started this business back in 1977. And this is our 40th year that we've been in business as an independent, wholesale optical lab. And we're the last independent lab in the state of Alabama. There's not a lot of independent labs left across the country because of all the big box mergers and everybody else. So we're very proud. My wife, now owns the company, like I said earlier, and it's just one of those things. When you get to do a tour, you definitely got to stop by because usually Jeff knows I might let you in on some secrets of what the future of Hunter's HD Go holds that, I hold him to secrecy on now.
Absolutely. Well, Steve, you had mentioned a couple of different styles that you've got, Gauge, Archer, Aviator. Brian, how many different frame styles are currently available with
we have 4 different styles. And when we was putting this together, when I was doing a lot of testing and stuff with a lot of people, we tested this lens and the different frames out there for about a year before we went public with it with everybody else, as you heard the dates that we talked about earlier. But caliber was brought out for people that like, basically what we're doing with Steel Challenge and Rimfire Challenge, where you're not having a lot of movement. You're kind of staying directly focused in front of you, and it has a lot of, benefits there to block sun from the side when you're out in the open. Then we came out with a Gauge that was designed more for shotgunners, and now we find out that USPSA shooters like that as well because you have more of a wider view of angle because you went from a 62 millimeter lens on the Gauge and to a larger lens. And then when I put them in some local stores, there was an archery company that sells them here in Pelham, and I found out that when you kind of look sideways, look like you're shooting a bow, you can't have the blockage in the side, and that's why we came up with the Archers. So they were actually designed for people that like to bow hunt and that. And then based on demand and what people told me what they wanted next, and that's when it came out with an Aviator. And the Aviator is the 4th style that we have available right now. And Aviator is a classic look that's been around forever. A wider viewing angle on the not a lot of being blocked from left to right. And of course the lightness of the Aviator everybody loves. But one thing about all 4 styles that we have, they're all OSHA approved safety frames. That way and the lenses are all tested to ANSI standard 2015 standards, which means to you as a shooter and me as a shooter, a quarter-inch steel ball traveling at 150 feet per second will not penetrate that lens. And we got that tested to an independent lab to do that for us. But So right now we have 4 styles of frames with 20 different variations of color and size. So, lots of different options out there to try to help everybody shooting discipline that's out there.
Well, that's fantastic. Now, you've also mentioned that, you can make these in prescription. So let's take a little step back here and why don't you give people your email address and how they can contact you so they can get you that prescription and possibly get a pair of Hunters HD Gold ordered with their specific prescription.
Well, that's a great thing to bring up because I only handle the prescription side of it, and anybody wants to, non-prescription, the vendors are available on our website, and on rangestore.net, of course, is where a lot of people order theirs or non-prescription. But if you do want a prescription, email me at Brian, BRIAN, at huntershdgold.com, and then I will forward there. Once you email me, then I will reply to the email and let you know how the process works, and go through that process very detailed with you to make the right purchase decision for your eye.
Fantastic. Well, stepping back to this weekend, you got in there the day early on RO day and you came in and you set your tent up, and anyone who's been again at the major matches, you'll see Brian with his tent, and there's 25 different glasses you've got on racks out there in front, correct?
That's correct.
I think people need to realize, and when they come up and they start talking to you, you will actually loan those out to people for the match for them to try free of charge. Isn't that correct?
That's correct, because you're looking at a larger investment than other shooting lenses that are out on the market, and I want people to experience what you and Steve experienced with the wow factor, because it's one of those things that with the Trivex and everything that we put into it, it actually opens your pupil when you put them on and allows more light to come in. And to be able to go and shoot with that, to be able to demo that, and be able to really know what you're paying for, and and that's just something that I thought of being in customer service for the past 20 years and what I've done with other jobs I've worked at. I know how people are when a new product comes out, that they don't really understand, well, why is this much money? But once you get it on there and get to talk to me and get to demo it and really see the benefits of it, then you realize that, if you ordered this kind of technology directly from your doctor, you'd be paying 2 or 3 times more. So it's kind of neat.
That's amazing. And so you are coming down to the 9 days of nationals here in Frostproof, Florida for the USPSA Nationals, correct?
I am. I'll be there. There's 3 matches, and I'll be there for all 9 days. So I'm excited about that. So.
All right. So all you listeners out there that are going to come down for the Nationals, if you really want to try out a pair of Hunters HD Gold glasses, Brian's going to be there. I highly recommend it. I've shot at Frostproof, both steel and USPSA. The way those bays run, having these glasses makes a big difference in being able to see those targets. Okay, Brian, well, is there anything else you'd like to share with our listeners?
Well, I've been to 16 different events so far this year, and I've got 10 more to go. So go to the website. On there's Hunters HD Gold's calendars on there where I'm going to be at for the rest of the year. I'm got Pennsylvania to go to 2 more times. I've Missouri to go to 2 more times. Just going to be all over, the United States, trying to meet more shooters and learn more about the shooting disciplines, and that helps me build what's next for Hunters HD Gold, what I'm going to come out with next, listening to shooters like yourself and all your feedback. So everybody's feedback so far has been just so important to me, and I've just had a blast meeting everyone and getting to know all the shooters personally. It's just been so much fun.
Fantastic. Steve, you got any last questions for Brian?
No, I've got more of a statement, Jeff and Brian, because I get these questions all the time because they see me wearing Hunters HD Gold glasses, and they ask me some questions from time to time. And what I tell them 100% of the time is, Brian's right over there, grab a pair, because all of us have bought a car from time to time, and it's high-pressure sales, this and that. Brian's stance in the way that he markets and sells his glasses is, look, if you got any questions, let me know, but here's a pair of glasses, you try them on, and they sell themselves. And it's a low-pressure environment. You either like them or you don't. And the other thing I'll tack on about from my experience from Hunters HD Gold, I've seen some people say, oh, they're expensive, this or that, and trust me, they're less than the price of a brand new Ruger. Mark IV. So it's, people spend money on some interesting things, and to make sure that you have high quality eyewear that helps your performance, it's well worth the money for sure. So I really appreciate what Brian has done for the shooting community, because we have partnered as part of the Steel Target Paint shooting team, and he supported the team, and he's really given back to the shooting sports. There's a lot of companies out there that have really tightened the belt during these tougher economic times, and the economy's turning a little bit. But Brian's really given back to the sport. I think it's a mutually beneficial situation. He gives back and he helps people out, and hey, try him and buy him. And it really rocked me back in the chair. And Brian and I talked a little bit about this a few weeks ago. It rocked me back in the chair when I pulled up the new Hunters HD Gold website, and at the bottom, I think it's on the main page, there's pictures that he's taken from different matches. I don't know, Brian, if that's been from the last, 6 months or 12 months, but it's just amazing how people didn't even know who Hunter's HD Gold was 6 months ago or 12 months ago, or maybe they're just finding out who Brian is in the business. But there are hundreds, and maybe it's up to thousands of people in the shooting sports that are wearing his glasses. So thank you, Brian, and also congratulations on the success that you're having.
Well, I appreciate it so much. And yeah, I just got through updating more pictures to the website. That's one of those things under the family album. I just every time I get new pictures sent to me, or I see them on the web or somewhere else, I keep updating the rotator. So there's always new pictures up there of new shooters and other shooters that have been with me for a while that just get more stuff posted. So I'm always, anybody wants to send pictures, they can. I'll even put you on the website, and just appreciate that, because when I launched the website, that was one of those things that I wanted to make sure I give back to the shooters and let y'all have your page and all the stuff that y'all do and spend so much time doing. I want to give back to the shooters even through the website. So I really appreciate you saying that.
Brian, I do have one question that I've seen a couple of people, I'm not going to name names, although it's very tempting to, that have a unique frame that's got Hunter HD Gold lenses in them. Is that a possibility to do, or is that just for sponsored shooters that have a favorite frame?
No, it is a possibility. Like I told you before, we do hundreds of jobs a day and different types of frames that come in all the time. I can make a custom pair for you. The price is a little bit more expensive than the retail side of it because it is custom, but you're looking at a situation where if you tried the 4 different frames that are out there, but you love the lens, but it's just something about the frame, then it's one of those special occasions where I say, well, just send me the frame that you have. Let me put them in there and see how it works. And I like to put them in safety frames. That's the whole big thing about Hunter's HD Gold. They are safety frames. But if I put them in a frame that's not a safety frame, then we call them Executives HD Gold, and they don't have the same, they're not classified as safety protective eyewear. They're eye protection, which is going to be fine. That's what's required when they go to the matches, eyes and ears. But to be truly safety protective eyewear, it's got to be an OSHA-approved frame with ANSI standard in the lens. And I can't put a ANSI standard lens in a non-safety frame. So it's a discussion that I have separately one at a time with customers that, want to use a frame base. Because frame styles, I get it. Trying to find frames for the masses is not easy. And I know based on hearing feedback that, the frames aren't sexy, but there's not such thing as a sexy safety frame. But I am working with some manufacturers on some frames for the safety frames of the future to change that. So I'm constantly, trying to decide what's next for Hunter's HD Gold in the safety line of frames. But it can be done. I try to get away from that because it's one of those things where I will do it, but it's not the same protection as a true Hunter's HD Gold safety frame, if that makes any sense.
Understood, completely understood. I also did have one question this past weekend that I apologize I could not answer. What is the warranty that comes with your lens and frame?
Well, the warranty is not published online or on a website or anything else, and here's the reason why. So I've been in customer service retail management since 1992, and that's where my history goes back. And warranties is a state of mind. And the way to answer your question is, if you treat these lenses the way they're supposed to be treated, and they're doing their job, and you put them back in the safety protective cases, they come with 2 different cases, and you protect them like you're supposed to, and just don't throw them on your dash and you're done with them. I can tell when frames have been abused and lenses have been abused, and I can tell when lenses are really doing their job, they should last, a long time. And it's one of those things I handle each occasion one at a time. And I've had people come up to me and say, hey, I love my Hunters HD Gold. We put some Z Clear on there and get them clean for me. I'm like, sure, no problem at all. I'll look at the lenses myself, and if I see something on there where they've had a ricochet hit them or something like that, and something's wrong with them, I just kind of, replace the lens. And they're like, hey, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm replacing this lens. It's got a scratch on it. Something that needs to be replaced. And they're like, oh. And they go, okay, well, how much I owe you? I'm like, nothing. The lens did what it was supposed to do. It protected your eyes. So there is no really warranty that's put out there, but my theory and my philosophy is, if you take care of those lenses like you're supposed to, I'm going to take care of you, and you're going to be a lifetime owner of Hunters HD Gold, if that makes any sense.
It certainly does, because I was talking out of school. I said, I'm not sure what the warranty is, but I've not had a single person that has bought a pair and come back to me and said, hey, Brian won't take care of me. So
No.
Thanks for clearing that up for
No,
I
I took care of, I've helped customers all over. April Cassidy, I helped her. She bought some, and it's one of those things where I make problems go away. It's just one of those things, you will not have a problem, period.
Good. Well, hopefully April's problem wasn't Jesse. Maybe we'll edit this or not. Hopefully Jesse's still
no,
okay.
yeah, has to stay in.
It might have been a little Jesse on that, but no, it's not a big deal. Right. Jesse and April have been wonderful for Hunters HD Gold and the brand, and I'm very proud to have them wearing and talking about Hunters HD Gold daily, just like y'all are.
Yeah, they're great people for sure.
All right, Brian. Well, thank you very much. I actually do have one parting final question. How do you think Alabama's going to do this year?
Oh, goodness. Well, I'll give you this. I can give
Easier to talk about lenses than football?
Yeah. Let me give you the Nick Saban response. I am too busy to worry about football. I'm worried about shooters, competitor shooters, everything else. When the season gets here, then I'll worry about football.
All right. That's a way to think about it. Thank you very much for being on the podcast.
You're welcome. Hey,
Brian.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a blast. I look forward to seeing you out there at the range soon.
Hey, Jeff, do you have any tips and tricks you want to share with us?
I do, and it's a perfect time because we just had the match at the Wyoming Antelope Club, and you experienced it, talked a little bit about in the podcast, and this is shooting as many different ranges as you possibly can. Ours is very different. I'm sure there's another one out there that may have covered bays like ours or something close, but again, ranges that run east-west, ranges that run north-south, ranges in the woods. I know we shot one in Georgia where we were shooting out of the back of an old saloon, and man, the open guns were loud. So my tip is shoot as many different places as you can, so the first time you have to deal with it is the only time, because after that, it's just second nature.
Thanks for sharing that with us, Jeff. That's a great tip.
Steve, there's a lot of upcoming events down here in the South. The season's going to start rolling, so it's really tough to describe every event that's out there and give them the props they deserve. So I'm going to tell everybody, make sure you go to steelchallenge.com and uspsa.org. Check out those matches, find a match, and I hope to see you there.
There's a lot of great matches coming up, Jeff. Go to rimfirechallenge.org and look for their upcoming matches.
All right, Steve. Well, I think this is another exciting one. We had a great interview with Brian, a lot of good information. I hope everybody enjoyed it. Don't forget, one shot, one steel.